laying eggs? Or, if it was a horse, is it, or let's say if it's a dairy cow, is she producing as much milk? Reproductive success, which for an egg laying hen would be also laying eggs. Body condition. So this could be a body condition score, like basically, is that animal thin or fat? Is it the right body condition? And finally, general appearance. And this horse on the right, I think, is a very good example of general appearance. You can just tell that that horse does not feel well. And you might say, how? Well, look at it. Its ears are kind of down and relaxed. Its eyes are almost closed. Its coat does not look good. This is the same horse from earlier in the lecture. But this horse obviously just doesn't feel well. And you can see that in all animals, and even people. You can tell when people don't feel well. Then these physiological measures of well-being, like stress hormone levels, so ACTH, cortisol, prolactin, or the indicators of immune function like white blood cell count or red blood cell count or immunoglobulins, could be measured. Both of those, like all of those that I've just mentioned, could be measured in blood samples. Now, on the birds that you're going to see, that we're going to talk about, obviously we don't have those numbers for them, but you might think about, would stress hormone levels be different for one set of these birds or another? And then also there are pain and distress indicators. And it might, I don't know, again, if you'd be able to really tell in this video, but what we would look for is increased respiration rate, increased heart rate, or a change in body temperature, usually increased body temperature. Now, for the respiration rate and the heart rate, that requires that you know what it's supposed to be on the stationary animal or on the normal. Again, you need to know what normal is, so you know what abnormal is. You need to know what normal is, so you know when something's not right or not normal. We all have different, if we took everybody's respiration rate and heart rate that's on this Zoom call right now, it would be different because we all have different baselines. So, but these are indicators. So if you see, and again, I don't know if you'd seen in this video, but if you're out watching chickens and it's hot out and they're panting, they're probably under distress. Or if pigs are what they call open mouth breathing, like panting, there's some distress going on. So just another indicator. All right, what are some other behavioral indicators for distress and pain? And again, this is the cow example that she talked about earlier. So refusal to eat or drink, head shaking, shivering and huddling, vocalization, kicking or refusing to stand still, tail swishing, hunched or arched back posture, without urination. So cows can actually kind of look like this on the screen if they're about to urinate, but in this case she wasn't. So again, these are as somebody that's going to take care of animals. Now, we're talking about, I'm giving you a livestock example today with the chickens, but no matter what, if you want to work with companion animals or lab animals, exotic animals, livestock, you need to really understand their behaviors and if there's a change in behavior so that you can know if there's distress and pain. So it's really important. And also, it might be even more important in some species than others, like wildlife or like zoo animals, because you might not be able to get as close to them as you could to other animals. And then finally, as we look at the behavioral metrics, what is the animal doing? So what is the animal doing and what should it be able to do? Now, if we look at these two pictures, well, first, let's look at normal behaviors. There's maintenance behavior, like eating, drinking, urinating, defecating, vigilance. So we want to make sure that those animals are responsive. agonistic behaviors, which could be, excuse me, maybe fighting a little bit, or social behaviors. So if you look at the cows behind this herdsman, it looks like they're pretty content doing maintenance behaviors. The cow that's right behind him, she might be showing some vigilance. Maybe there's something that's caught her eye, maybe a dog or a cat or another human. So she's looking. So those cows look like they're doing appropriate behaviors. And same with the Jersey cows on the bottom, they look appropriate too. They're all laying down. Their head set is natural. So the way their head is there, like how it's just kind of sitting there, that's natural. Their ears are, not too open. Their eyes aren't too wide open. They look pretty good. They look like they're just hanging out. Now, if those cows on the bottom were licking their stalls or they weren't laying down, then you might think, there's an issue there. So abnormal behaviors could be excessive or unpredictable aggression, apathy or unresponsiveness. That was the example about the zoo animals, or hyper-responsiveness. And I've given this example to the other lab groups. I have a French bulldog. My husband and I have a French bulldog, and he's very hyper responsive to high pitched noises. And so that's an issue because anytime there's a chime or a ding or anything that makes kind of a high pitched sound, like a blender or a mixer, he doesn't like it. And so, or vacuum. So he's hyper responsive, and I know he's having some distress. Self-mutilation, you'll see this with birds sometimes when they're stressed, and that could also be excessive grooming or lack of grooming. There could also be movement problems or the stereotypies or behavioral vices that Dr. Croney talked about earlier. Okay, so now what I'm going to have you guys do, I'm going to put this link into the chat, and I'm going to what we're going to do. Okay, so now you should see that in the chat. And let me pull up this website and show you a little bit so that we can be clear. So when you open that link, you're going to get to this homepage. And this is at the Coalition for Sustainable Egg Supply. And I want you to go to resources, which is the 5th tab over, and you've got these 3 videos. Now you're going to click on the video, and then I'm going to have you with now you could share your screen and watch these as a group, or you could watch them individually. We're going to split you into breakout rooms, but basically you're going to watch these videos. So this is the cage-free aviary, for instance. And what I want you to do is write down pros and cons for each. Okay, so as we think about, do these birds, how much space do they have? Do they, can they show natural behaviors? Are they safe from, any other birds, or, I don't know if they're necessarily be predators because they're inside a barn, but are they safe in a safe space? And are they going to be productive? And so you see there is these 3 videos. So cage-free aviary, conventional cage, and a rich colony. You do not need to do the interactive portion. Okay, so just the videos. So when you get divided into your groups, go to that website and watch the videos. And as a group, what I want you to do is talk about them. So watch them and then talk about them. So write down pros and cons on welfare for each system based on welfare metrics that we talked about. So these things up here, which is why I gave you the PDF with these slides. So as you kind of think about it, do you see where there might be an increased incidence of disease or a possibility for injury? Or maybe if there's a system that you think might have higher death rates, or good production levels, or the general appearance of the birds. And obviously we can't really look at the stress hormones or the immune function on this because we don't have the blood tests or anything. Do you see any incidents? I don't know if you'll see any incidents of increased respiration or heart rate here. Um, and then, or do you see anything like self mutilation, like where the birds don't have feathers on them? Or are they doing things like maintenance behaviors, like eating, drinking, dust bathing, perching, walking around, flapping their wings? Are they doing any stereotypies? And it's kind of hard to tell on birds sometimes what those are. To be honest, and so in a parrot or something, you might see them walking around their cage a lot. So what I want you to do when we go into groups, like I said, you go to the website, watch these videos, capture the pros and cons of welfare for each system, and then write those down. So make sure somebody in your group is writing down this stuff. And then I want you as a group, once you have all that information, decide what system you think is best for the welfare of those hens, just from that video information. And then summarize your information, and then we can talk about whether that welfare is good, fair, or poor. Now, in the videos, you'll hear the sound. They talk about some different things, like how many workers are needed to run these different systems or having to gather the eggs. Remember on this, we just want to look at the welfare of the hens. We're not looking at, it's just the welfare of the animals, not if it requires more labor or something, or not if it's, the person has to collect the eggs. That's definitely part of the system.